Well, Happy New Year to the 1,000 people here at Caesars, and certainly to the thousands of people in South Jersey listening on News Talk 1400 Radio WOND. I want to tell you, Chris Filicello, my chief of staff, prepared the presentation. The problem is he told me all of the lines that I wanted to start off with today and told me that I couldn't say it. The problem is he gave me the little thing that you put everything on, and so I could just add whatever I want. He should learn by now I'm going to say what I want. So here's how I'd like to start off. You think you had a bad day? I woke up this morning, Caesars filed bankruptcy, all 3 elevators are broken in City Hall, and there's a major water leak at the public works place. And that's just a typical day for me for the last year as a mayor. But, my second line, I'd like to start off, Caesars, really. Could you have picked another day to declare bankruptcy? How about this one? If I had $1 for every time someone said to me that we need to build a water park, I could have built the damn thing myself. At least we're not Detroit. No? Okay. All right. And then for the 500 people that ask me what I think about the governor appointing an emergency manager, yeah, of course, it's a great idea to have the state monitor the state monitor who's already monitoring me. And then I'll stop this. If you remember the last slide that I used last year, I promised you a root canal. I just forgot the Novocaine. So Chris, that's everything I wasn't supposed to say. Now I'm safe, all right. So let me start with that. I told you last year that I didn't want to do it, but the city needed a root canal for us to be strong again. And I can tell you today, and you'll see in the next 20 minutes or so, that root canal is over and the healing is about to begin. So I think I'm going to be... So... I'm on a roll now, 2 for 2. I promised you a root canal, I delivered. I promised you a university, and everyone rolled their eyes last January and things. Today, I am so proud that we have Stockton deciding that the Island campus is going to be right here. And Herman knows this, we had Rutgers, we had Rowan, we had Stockton. I'm from North Jersey. I already have troubles with my R. I'm so glad we got the S word for the college here. This is very exciting. It's jobs, it's taxes on the property that they're going to be using commercially, and then it's a payment in lieu of taxes for the property that they'll be using for the academic purposes. Stockton is going to change Atlantic City. It's going to bring a new vibrancy. It's going to become part of our fabric. I'm very, very excited beyond the jobs and the taxes of what our city is going to be when the students arrive. And I have to tell you, this is part of the job creations that we're talking about. Herman is very dedicated. He's telling me that he is shooting for May of this year to open up the hotel and the first few restaurants, and he's looking to the fall of this year, 2015, for 400 students to be in residence and another 1,000 students to be taking classes here on the Island campus. So thank you, Herman. Thank you. Welcome to our city. You know we need to grow beyond tourism. I think we all know that now. In order to do that, we have to have a much better educated workforce, our residents. And so as happy as I am to have Stockton here with a full campus, I want to thank Dr. Mora and the Atlantic Cape Community College. They just finished a 22,000 square foot expansion for both culinary and hospitality. That's exactly what we need for our children, so we can be sure that they have good paying jobs with good benefits. And as I made fun of Caesars for your financial work today, I also want to thank you personally for using your IATs to make this expansion at ACC possible. Then let's move on. Yeah. Yep. If I didn't say something nice, they're going to shut off the microphone, turn off the lights. I'm not supposed to tell you because Chris told me that I shouldn't say that they're opening up April 8th because they're going to announce that, so I'm not going to tell you that. But I am glad to have Bass Pro coming to the city. In addition to what you see on the expressway, they're also adding 15,000 square foot boathouse and room for about 400 boats. So when you come across that bridge, you're going to see a sea of boats. Bass Pro is going to be here, adding taxes, adding jobs. The average Bass Pro brings in 1 million customers a day. It's like candy for men. It's a candy store. And so we're very delighted to have people that want to do more buying in fishing and in boats and in hunting coming to Bass Pro. And then I got to tell you, Harrah's is where we need to be going. We need to be growing our economy beyond gaming, and certainly conventions and conferences is where we need to go. We know that we're not attracting the professional conferences, and we're not attracting the executive meetings, and Harrah's is going to be opening up 250,000 square feet to complement our own convention center. Again, all about jobs and bringing in a reason to come to Atlantic City. Along the same line, I'm thrilled to hear Resorts, the granddaddy of hotels, and our first casino is also going to be converting the second floor into additional conference and meeting space as well. So conventions are where we need to go. Yeah, yay Resorts, yay Harrah's. Conventions are where we need to go. I'm very happy with the dynamic leadership of John Palmieri at CRDA in recognizing that we needed to have a new organization to promote conventions. Meet AC has been formed. Jim Wood has been brought in. Tripled the staff that are booking conventions. I can tell you that they had 170,000 people, up 59%. In rooms that they were able to book because of conventions, and their goal next year is going to be hitting 200,000. So it's 58% up in the people attending conferences, and it's $189 million, which is up about 43% in the amount of money that conventioneers are spending in Atlantic City. And yesterday, very exciting, they announced the Atlantic City Sports Commission, so Atlantic City can once again go after the cheerleading competitions, the football classics, the basketball classics, and bring sports back in. When you think of that convention hall, you got to be thinking boxing, and that's where we need to go to bring more dynamic activities to Atlantic City. I threw in this slide because I know everyone's talking about what the gross was of gaming last year, but I want to look at these 5 properties. They all spent between $75 million and $100 million to create a world-class resort that happens to have gaming, and you can see the percentage of numbers that have increased, and I'm sure with Carl and his hopeful plans to spend that kind of money at Taj Mahal, they'll be joining these numbers in 2015 year as well. I do want to mention that just like Philadelphia 20 years is the last place you would have gone for fine dining, I'd say the same for Atlantic City. But today we have a vibrant scene for dining, and I certainly, you know, if you haven't been there just this year, Guy Fieri opened up his chop house at Bally's, and we're exciting about Gordon Ramsay opening up the pub right here at Caesars, Mortorano's best meatballs in town over at Harrah's, and I want to recognize the little guys that just have a fabulous venue. So the Iron Room, if you haven't been there, across from the stadium, Wingcraft right here at the Walk, and Perfectly Innocent Amusement Company, best sandwiches in town over on Tennessee Avenue. Tropicana, my hat's off to Tony Rodeo, and we're going to see a $35 million expansion there. That building is going to be a series of high-definition and low-definition screens and lighting and palm trees, and every 30 minutes you're going to get wowed with an incredible sound and video show at Tropicana. They're also going to be expanding to include a brand-new health club with Atlanticare and several new retail outfits, of course, a couple of hundred jobs as well. And then we move to the pier at Caesars. I think Bart is with us today. Bart Blatstein took a ghetto in Philadelphia, blew up Yep, he blew up the brewery that was there. He created this exciting entertainment venue, and then he created housing all around there. If you don't know, if you've not been to Northern Liberties, he had a waiting list just to live here. So going from a ghetto to a place that everybody wants to be is what his claim to fame is. He is an incredibly creative guy, and in about a month, he's going to be holding a press conference to tell you what he's doing with our peer here at Caesars. And I got to tell you, he alone will recreate the playground of the world. If you're a sports guy, you're going to be delighted when you see what he's going to do for you, because it's going to be a reason to come from a couple of 100 miles away just to this pier, because what he's going to be offering you. They told me not to talk a whole lot about it, so Bart, I'll just talk a little bit more, but I want to tell you, if you're into music, you're into dance, unless you go to Beale Street down in Memphis, or Bourbon Street in New Orleans, or Duval Street down in Key West, you're not going to find a more hip, fun place than what he's going to be delivering. And now I'm going to stop, Bart, because I appreciate you're going to create a couple 100 jobs for me. You're going to be using union wage to build it, and you're going to be paying taxes. So thank you, Bart. Welcome to Atlantic City. That was for you, Ed. Ed, turn around, pay attention. Ed Gant, that was for you, the union contracts, all right, in case you missed it. Clarence Hotel, love this beautiful hotel. Thank God for TGM. They're doing a marvelous job. They're bringing ballet every month back to the city at this hotel. And this year, they're hoping to be able to deliver the largest art gallery in the state of New Jersey in the former casino space, and a wonderful children's museum as well. And they're in negotiations now with the city and city council about being able to use the park in front of their place to bring wonderful family attractions for families and kids. So welcome to Atlantic City as well. So last year I was thanking Wasim and Omar Burai for taking a chance, spending $60 million coming to Atlantic City. Now that they are the donut hole in the donut that is now our university, they got to be thanking me for building this complex. April is the date that they're going to break ground, 250 units of housing on 4 acres. That was formerly Pauline's Prairie. Lots of money coming in for taxes. Obviously, a couple of 100 construction jobs, and then some great living here, and 20% is going to be reserved for thank you, affordable housing, which is going to come in the form of workforce housing. I want to mention another project as well. We have been waiting for more than 10 years for the Hope 6 project. Conifer Homes is now under construction. 90 homes for first-time home buyers that are living in housing projects now, but qualify, and that they'll be moving into these homes. This is just great. It's part of 500 homes that will be under construction by April of this year in a city that built 51 homes in the last 5 years. So this is the way we're going. Breakers, great project. It got stalled because everybody's afraid of the taxes here. I want to thank City Council and a very creative financing package they put together. And I think if you want to have $1.5 million fabulous oceanfront home, the Breakers is the place to go. I also want to recognize at this time Preceda for the housing that they're doing in our city. Gardeners Basin, by March of this year, we're going to have a request for a proposal. This is going to be the answer in Atlantic City to what Baltimore has in the Inner Harbor. I'm very excited about this project. I think you're talking about some build out in 16, but really at 17 where we're going to see this come about. It's a great project because it's going to create jobs and it's going to produce either income to the city by the sale of this property, or it's going to produce income because we're going to be leasing it. So great project coming up. And I got to thank the Catanosa brothers. They've had their best year in 10 years at the Steel Pier. As soon as the weather warms up, they'll be starting construction of their 22-story observation wheel. And at the same time, Anthony told me, please don't mention this, but when they do that groundbreaking, if you can figure out what the next big ride should be in Atlantic City, that people would come, that's what they're going to build. Right, Anthony? But I'm not going to say anything more about that. Boardwalk, real important. We've missed the boardwalk connecting us to Gardner's Basin since 1944 storm. You're going to see in the spring, the contracts are already out. The Army Corps of Engineers are here. The funding's in place. We're going to be building some seawalls from Atlantic Avenue back to the ocean and from Caspian Avenue Beach back to Gardner's Basin. But by the end of 16, the boardwalk will be complete. It's important. It's important not because it's a great recreational venue for us and because you can bicycle and walk and fish, but it's going to give people the opportunity to build out the southeast and the northeast inlet. And what I'm talking about, I'm very lucky to have people like Bruce Kay reinvesting in the city. This is a guy that formerly was one of the owners of the Fontainebleau in Florida, got a lot of places for him to spend the money. I'm just excited he's here. Knowing that this boardwalk is passing by the flagship, there's the plan of what the flagship's going to do. As the boardwalk comes up to him on the 3rd floor, he's going to have a beautiful walkway and create a very, very exciting outdoor venue for several hundred people to enjoy the inlet and the ocean front. And I think this is just the beginning. But Bruce, thanks a lot for believing in AC. So somehow between 19 and 12, and about 1958, we were really smart. We built a canal under Baltic Avenue, and it alleviated flooding from Main Avenue all the way back to Texas, from the bay all the way back to the ocean. And those gates are broken. I can tell you now that it's a $7 million project that has been funded, and it's going to start in the spring. It's going to take less than a year, but when these gates are constructed and the new pumping station is installed on Rhode Island Avenue, we will prevent flooding once a month in all of the areas that I just described, about 2/3 of the city. So an exciting program, a good resiliency project that's coming. If you've bitched about the potholes in this city for all these years, I know, don't say bitch, I'm sorry. Why don't you turn the other way himself? We've paved more roads in Atlantic City this year than we have in the last 10 years. I promised that we'd start in Bungalow Park and Venice Park, and I've been able to deliver on that. We've done Arctic Avenue, and as soon as the asphalt plants open in the spring, you're going to see that with a federal grant, none of this is coming out of taxpayers' dollars, or at least not city taxpayers' dollars. All of these projects are going to be done, including Maryland Avenue, from Huron Avenue all the way back to Atlantic Avenue. Of course, Pacific Avenue, thanks to our friends at CRDA. And we're going to finish up Arctic, Ventnor, and Memorial Avenue. When I was a kid, I used to check out my city in the wintertime to find out where the newest paved street was, because that's where you wanted to go rollerblading or roller skating or skateboarding. Well, I can assure you when Pacific Avenue finally gets paved, we are going to have the smoothest street in the United States. And is Tony Rodeo here? No? Wow. Stood me up, Tony. I'm very disappointed. But I'm hoping that as Tropicana announces their expansion, that we close down Pacific Avenue for 6 or 8 hours. We have a great block party, and I invite everyone to join the mayor, the director of CRDA, and the president of Tropicana as we skateboard down Pacific Avenue. 100,000 people at the concerts this summer and no arrest. You know, thank you, police chief. Thank you, ACPD. You guys did a great job. You know that people came here, had fun, brought their families. Unfortunately, this is funded by the Atlantic City Alliance. And right now, we don't know where the funding is going. But this is very important to us. And so I'm sending out correspondence to Meet AC, to CRDA, to the county, inviting them with this city and the Casino Association to join together after the Governor's Summit, so we know what he's planning for us. But these concerts, the air show, the wonderful fireworks at July 4th, the sand sculpting contest, they brought tens of thousands of people to our city, and they produced millions of dollars for the economy. So these are events that we can't give up in 2015. So let me tell you the things officially I can't talk about, but pretty much, you know, what are you going to do? I got the microphone. There's $1 billion a competition for HUD, for Resiliency project. I am very happy to tell you that Atlantic City has been selected for Chelsea Heights for a $100 million federal project. The project entails raising the roadway and raising every single home that's capable of being raised, new bulkheading, and a new roadway for West End Avenue. Whether you go 25, 50, or 75 years, Chelsea Heights is going to be underwater. And we can avoid that today and take advantage of this $100 million project. We're going to be having town hall meetings at the Moose Lodge at the Chelsea Heights School so that we can talk to residents, make sure we're all on the same page. But this is a very exciting federal project that we can announce. I also want to let you know that just about every town in America has applied to Georgetown for their $5 million competition for some green energy, and they have now selected 50 of the finalists. We're one of those finalists. If we get this, great, but I can tell you we're not stopping. If you've been on Florida, on Georgia, on Bellevue, on avenues, on the beach block, you'll see the new LED lighting, Texas Avenue. Thank you, Gary. If you've been on any of those streets, you can see how bright it is. That's the first set of lighting. I know we've signed an agreement with Atlantic Electric. Over the next couple of months, you'll see all of those streets relighted all the way back to the bay. And then my promise is we're going to look at the areas where the chief things they're going to do the most good. And so we're looking at the main streets in the west side and on the north side, so Kansas and Ohio and Indiana and Kentucky and South Carolina, North Carolina, Maryland. Those are the streets before the summer that we're going to triple the amount of lighting on. So a good project to come. We are working with our city buildings on making them more energy efficient. I want to let you know that the Public Works Yard now has solar panels on the roof, and it's now responsible for paying for 50% of the former cost for utilities. So we're going there. All of the cars that we're replacing at the city is going to be compressed natural gas. CNG costs $1.50 a gallon less than normal fuel, and for a police car alone, that's about $6,000 savings a year. So these are the areas that we know we can improve. I met Mr. Straub for the first time this week, a couple of hours. He is a very creative individual. He has the funding, obviously, to be able to do these projects, and I can tell you that he's looking at an investment in Atlantic City of about $500 million. Right now, he's traveling around the world to test out the projects that he wants. You've seen what he said to local TV stations and to newspapers, but it's not just opening up Revel as a smaller casino, but with a hotel and with the restaurants for this summer, but he's also looking at the possibility of the largest water park in the world at $100 million. He's a polo enthusiast. He's trying to figure out if he has enough property now in the Southeast Inlet to put in a polo ground on the ocean. If he can't find it here, he's talking about going on the mainland. He's talking about taking the 13 floors that aren't completed and doing some condominiums as part of the project. But that's the creative type of people that we need here. I'm glad that he's going to be coming to Atlantic City, and he tells me by the end of February or early March he'll have a press conference so that he can announce exactly what projects he's going to be undertaking. Have to give a shout out to Atlanta Club. Endeavor has purchased this property, looking for the summer of this year to reopen it up as a hotel with a great entertainment venue that I've got to let them tell you about, but you're going to be very excited when you're here. I think they're going to probably be taking 5 or 10 floors of this building and creating some condo and condo-tels, but it's just good to know Atlanta Club, the former Atlanta Club, the former Revel, the former Showboat, all going to be reused, all opened up, creating jobs for summer 2015. Particularly proud of the Atlantic City Police Department and very specifically Chief White. Reduction in aggravated assaults, reduction in robberies, reduction in homicides. And while he's done all this, he is reconnecting with the community like no other police chief that I've seen anywhere. And that is giving some more confidence to residents with their police department. And we've gone from a less than a 10% solvency rate way we solve crimes to a 60% rate. And the chief can tell you when a police officer enters a crime scene today, he can't keep up with the texting that everyone is telling him. No, not guy, this guy, not that car, this car, the trunk, not the front seat. And so, you know, we're only going to solve crime by all working together in order to reduce crime. And so my hat's off to the chief. While he's reducing crime, I want to let you know this guy has reduced the use of force by 40% in Atlantic City and reduced the number of complaints in internal affairs by 35%. So this guy's a hero. He has a tough job ahead of him. The last job that I would want in 2015 would be a police officer. And so my hat's off to you and your whole department, Chief. So I'm telling you how we're moving ahead, how we're going to get away from simply gaming. And I'm not giving up on gaming. It's going to be important, but we have to realize that we have to do a whole lot more for people to want to come here, and our residents deserve a whole lot more than just simply casinos. That's what I've been talking about so far. It's not going to come about until we control spending of government and the tax situation in Atlantic City. We're going to continue to spiral down with assessed values, probably more than $3 billion this year. You all know whether it's 15 or 16, we're eventually going to get down to about $7 billion before we level off. And the people that are left, property owners that are left, cannot pick up any more of this cost. We understand it, and I understand, along with City Council, that the rate that you're paying now cannot go forward. It's not doable, and we are committed to doing everything we can to bring that down. But we need a whole lot more help. So from the city, we've got to cut expenses, and although our budget doesn't get approved till July because we're in transitional aid, I can assure you, as we're talking today, the budget for January is $1.5 million less than it was a year before. So we are going to be trimming at least $15 million off this budget that you see. We know that we need some revenue enhancement. It's right-sizing and I'll talk about that in a minute. And of course, we need to have some stabilization as well. I mentioned that all of this is happening. Everything I've talked before isn't my vision. It's everyone else coming to the table and being able to believe in Atlantic City again. And for us to get out of the deep hole we're in isn't going to be by shutting down a building or letting 10 people or 20 people go. And so I want to talk about some of the legislative leaders that are absolutely our friends. You know, I'll start off in the federal government. Both Bob and Corey are our senators. They're former urban mayors. They get the problems that we're going to. When we met with this summer, we asked them for $10 million to help us to train people that have lost their jobs in the casino industry and prepare them for the several thousand jobs that are going to be created in 2015. And this week we had the great news of $29 million coming to South Jersey to help with that program. Congressman Lobiondo, basically his 20 years of service has all been about creating new jobs here. the Governor Christie could not be more supportive of Atlantic City. I know he told you about how proud he was of the progress that Camden made, and they deserve those accolades from where they were 5 years ago. I want to make sure that in 2016 or maybe 2017, he has that same confidence in Atlantic City and is proud of us as he is in Camden. So I thank the governor for his commitment. We'll see what happens with the meeting on the 22nd and what type of support we can expect. Senate President Sweeney has been a hero with us, very dedicated to South Jersey, very dedicated to see Atlantic City survive. Let's mention everyone else. So we have the Senate Minority Leader, Tom Keene. I'm sure sometime today he's going to be having a press conference talking to you about how he can help with the state of New Jersey in bringing some new entertainment to Atlantic City and to New Jersey in general with some tax breaks. He's already the one that told me that we can have open containers on the boardwalk, and I'm kind of shocked, but we love that idea. We're going to be working on that with City Council, see if it's practical. Chief is rolling over in his chair now, but whatever. Assembly Speaker Vince Prieto, Assembly Major Leader Louis Greenwald, Minority Leader John Bramnick, of course our own Senator Jim Whalen, our good friend Chris and Vince as our Assemblymen, and of course our dear friends County Executive Denny Levinson and all of the Atlantic County freeholders. We're all committed to a new Atlantic City, to a new beginning, to bringing down costs and creating jobs. And so I thank everyone that's there. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this legislative package, these 5 programs. Sometime yesterday, Denny Levinson, our county executive, representing the rest of Atlantic County, and myself, were able to come to very clear agreements on what that package that we've been talking about, what you've been reading about, really means. And we were both able to come to realize that we can do what is fair for everyone and look at the percentage that the county has received over the last 10 to 15 years, because we're talking about the next 10 to 15 years. And when you look at that and you see the percentage, you see that we all win. The only way that Atlantic County property holders are not going to have a tax increase this year is by Senator Sweeney and the legislature passing these 5 bills. So the county executive has expressed this with the mayors and has agreed to convene all of us next Monday so he can explain how the program works. You know that part of this is going to be IAT money that'll go toward the city to helping us reduce our debt. It does leave a gap in that marketing, because we had $30 million for ACIA. I've been so thrilled to have Jeff Guarasino as part of our marketing team here in Atlantic City. We've got to figure out how we're going to solve this problem. And I don't have the answers, but I am bringing everyone else together to figure out how we can make sure that the special events and marketing continue. And then, of course, we'll all want to be part of the Senate and Assembly guaranteeing health benefits for our casino employees. So I want to tell you on a personal note, in case there's anyone thinking that this is all talk. We've frozen salaries, we've frozen hiring back in January 1 of last year. That continues. I told you we needed 200 or 300 layoffs to save $15 million. But through Arch Liston and Jason Holt and a very aggressive attrition program, 140 fewer employees work in Atlantic City today, and that's a savings of over $12.5 million. That attrition will continue, and unfortunately we will have some layoffs, but this is necessary for us to move ahead. And so we're looking at best practices. And if we can keep it in-house, Paul Jerkins in Public Works is a perfect example. Every time I bring in another company to privatize, I share it with Paul and with our blue-collar president, James Little, and they figure out how we can keep it in-house and save the same amount of money. He's done that time and time again. Paul, you were on my axe last year because I hated the way public work was run. I can tell you today that I am really, really proud. The residential district is cleaned in a much better plan. You certainly can't tell the difference in cleaning from residential to the tourism district. You've removed the graffiti. You've brought up the parks. You're doing a great job, and I thank you and all of the members of Public Works. And you do a great job in plowing as well, so thank you. And he fixed the elevators. Wow, my hero. So we can't be what we did before. This is, again, you never hear me talking about the guy before me or blaming him. The point is, this is a different time in history. We don't have the funding, and our taxpayers can't afford the cost. And so we've got to rethink what we're doing in the city. There's certain things that the city cannot live without. And I'll tell you, that's certainly the PAL building. That's certainly the Old Wars Memorial. Those are community centers that are part of the fabric of our community that we've got to find a way to make sure that those programs continue. But other things like Garden Pier, a much better use. Probably a couple of restaurants up there that are paying taxes, that are hiring people. We moved the art center over to the art garage so that all of the artists and residents can be part of that. If CRDA moves ahead with the New Jersey Hall of Fame, we ask for an extension for an Atlantic City exhibit, and we move the Historical Museum to Boardwalk Hall as well. If we don't need fire stations, we got to sell them. We're looking at the ACUA and whether or not we can save money by making it a utility. I have to tell you, we need to be making a couple of $1 million more in parking. But I'll tell you the good news, and once we do a study, I'll be able to give you more details. But if you take Washington, D.C. as an example, you can tier what people pay for parking meters by using your cell phone. And so what we're looking at is a separate rate for Atlantic City and Atlantic County. So we'd be able to still receive better parking rates from people that visit our city, but protect those that are in South Jersey right now. So that's where we're looking to go. Elizabeth is very creative with Lance and some of the architects and engineer. I know she's working very closely with Councilman Frank Gilliam, but I think you're going to see some exciting opportunity for vacant lots to be given away and for people that never had a home to have a home, and we should see that in 2015 as well. So I want to thank you for your attendance this afternoon. And I want to assure you that the difference is that the stars are aligning for the first time in a really long time for Atlantic City. Property values are lower than they've ever been before. I mean, Bart buys a $200 million pier for $2.5 million. You can't even buy a home on Long Beach Island for that kind of money. And I'm sure, after you spend 20, 30, 40, 50, $100 million, you can whine about your taxes like everybody else. But we're glad we're at the right price yet. We brought somebody in. Revel will be opened up again. I want to tell you that our state legislature has really come in by including Atlantic City in the Grow New Jersey and the ERG program, which is going to bring back about 40% of the cost of building new businesses in Atlantic City based on the number of jobs that you create. I got to tell you, if there's any doubt, please meet with myself and City Council, but we are bullish on new development. We still want to lower the poverty rate. We still want to provide better education for our children, but we know that jobs are very important. We know taxes are important. So we want to be the most business-friendly city in the state of New Jersey, and you just got to tell us how to do that. But we're sitting at the same table. We're on the same page with you. We need to redevelop our city. So new venues and activities beyond gaming. The continued emphasis, I think with the police chief, he is completely reinvigorating the police department. We went from a police department that was embarrassing because of the technology that they did not have to a police department the next 2 or 3 years that's going to be leading the country, not just the state of New Jersey. And with Paul and the incentives and new ideas that he have, cleanliness is going to remain very, very high on our radar. So stabilizing and reducing the cost of city governments, a commitment from the schools in lowering cost on the school level. One of these bills that's before the Senate and the Assembly calls for a monitor for the school system, which I wholly support, so we can find best practices in other cities that can reduce the cost of education here in Atlantic City, and just as important, qualifying Atlantic City along the other 35 cities that receive major financial support from the state for education, because every dollar that comes from the state will be returned back to taxpayers. So very important for all of us. When I ended last year, I told you that we were in a tunnel, but there was light at the end of the tunnel, and I felt like I was the only guy in the room that saw the light at the end of the tunnel. I hope today you see that things have really changed, and it's only going to change because we're all working together. That's what it's going to need for us to move our city forward. I'm not trying to return the city to the glory days of gaming in the 90s, and I'm not trying to return the city to the glory days of the 30s and 40s when we were the only place you could get liquor in the United States. What I'm trying to grow our city is into the great urban environment it can be for people living and working here. We need to do the very best for our residents, because this city should be a great place to live, a great place to work, and we've got to do the best jobs to make it the playground of America once again, so it gives you a reason to come back. And so we're moving outside of that tunnel. There's a bright future ahead, but that bright future only comes because of all of you, all of us working together. First of all, 2015's got to be better than 2014. 2014 sucked. So that at least I can promise you. But I'm telling you, we really have a plan. We have more people on the same page than we've ever had before. This is the future for Atlantic City, for South Jersey, for the state of New Jersey. It's time to move forward, and it's time to become the great city we were meant to be. Thank you so much. John and Gary, thank you for allowing me to make the presentation.